I'm Mark. Hopefully by now you'll have seen the swing analysis. Apologies for being in the garage. It's a bit windy outside today, so you wouldn't be able to hear me through the AirPods, so I thought I'd bring it in here. I just want to take the opportunity to kind of bring the focus into what you should actually be working on. And for you, it's a case of really a couple of things that are a bit of a legacy from your baseball that we need to eradicate, and a bit of a change in your setup. So if I start with a setup, I'll just take this alignment stick. What we see is that your weight is a little bit in your heels and you have a bit too much knee flexion. So we see the kind of key markers are that your butt is maybe a little bit too far behind your heels. There's, as I said, too much flexion in these knees. And the pressure point, so the back of your armpit when you look is behind your knees, and kind of more towards the back of your foot, where we'd want it through the balls of your feet. So what I'm going to want you to do is kind of lose a bit of that flexion in your knees, feeling like you're standing a bit nicer and taller. Really feel like you find the midpoint, so you might want to rock back and forth through your feet, find the midpoint of your feet, and then just feel like you're nicely set up from there. You may also feel that the handle lifts a little bit from where it was before, because obviously everything's just lifting up. So then the next thing I want you to do ever so slightly is just to feel like this front foot flares out a little bit. It's just going to help you when rotating through this way. Obviously at an exaggerated level, if my front foot was like that, it's much harder for me to rotate. So you'll have seen it with DJ on the swing analysis. Just rotate that front foot out a little and it will make it much easier for us to go through. Okay, so that's the first bit on the on the setup. Now what I want to do is kind of focus on this shift to the right in your backswing with your kind of legs and hips. So what we see right from the start is kind of a shift where you keep the flexion in this leg and everything moves this way. What this does is it means that we've got to get back over here, and it's also where we see when you kind of moved over here, you then shift back, and for that time you're shifting back, your shoulders are rotating, and we get this hand path that comes out here. Whereas if we were kind of centered and then we could just rotate the hips straight away, the hands would work much more kind of down behind us and we'd be able to hit nice kind of draws from there. So it might be a bit of a case of where you get that left shot, it's just that the kind of hand path is to that way, which, you know, sends the ball left essentially. So what we're going to want to do is, I've got a bag here as just something I had in this garage, but anything really. What you're going to want to do is just set up without a club, because you just want to get the feeling of what this hip rotation is going to feel like, and just set up with your butt, just your right butt cheek just up against the bag, the chair, whatever you've got. And if you were to do what you're doing, you feel your butt cheek sliding across it like that. What you're going to want to do is feel like it almost moves the other way as you rotate. So just like that. And what am I doing to do that? I'm essentially bending this left knee, losing flex, and extending this right knee. That's basically all I'm doing. So just doing that, flex and extend that one. And that will keep you centered rather than this move over here, okay? So you just want to feel that. Okay. Like your butt cheeks just kind of sliding off it to the right. And that keeps us nice and centered. And then from there we can just hit a couple of balls. So let's feel it again. Just that nice centered rotation with this knee dropping, this knee extending, and almost feeling like this hip is moving towards the target. Like that. Okay. And your head is staying nice and centered. And then you can just take the club, do another practice swing, and then just a nice little 50% shot, okay? just like that. You're going to want to do that a couple of times, just get the feeling, and just do everything nice and slow, plenty of practice swings, and that'll be good. And then that's kind of what I want to focus on for now. But I also want to draw your attention to the way your kind of elbow works, just so you're aware. And it's something that if you felt comfortable, you could maybe work on. So when we look at your elbow at the top, we see that it gets quite away from your body, so it's quite abducted. So what this does, if my elbow's here and I've got the club nicely down the line, if I just raise it, it sends the club across the line, which you can see happens here and is what happens for you. So what I'm almost going to want you to feel is like the hands are more above this elbow, so it will stay more here rather than over here. So the hands more above the elbow, almost like the elbow's a bit more externally rotated rather than internally rotated and out there. Okay, so that's just like a big difference between baseball technique, golf technique, and I think in an ideal world we could do that in the golf swing, because that move in the downswing is quite a good power generator, but it's also quite hard to keep the direction right every time when we do that. So we're just going to want to keep that more down the line, and I think it should help you be a bit more consistent. So yeah, work on those things, make that change to the setup, focus on kind of the way that rotation moves, keeping that centered hip turn, and then we'll take it from there. Cheers, mate.